Greetings comic book fans, I'm Jason and welcome to my comic book reviews. We've got 16 books to review this week, so without further ado, let's get into those reviews. So as always, we're going to kick things off with DC Comics, and just 2 books from DC this week. First up, our weekly book, Batman Eternal, issue number 36. And this was another really good issue. This book's got on a really good run at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it. Last issue, of course, ended with Batman trapped inside the Batmobile, with Commissioner Bard in control and about to drive Batman to his death. Now, it isn't no spoiler to say Batman survives. But, you know, there was a lot of good things in this issue. I was really pleased to see the Bat family coming to Batman's aid. And I loved the scene where Red Robin said, like, something's going on, we need to get the family together. I really liked that. And come on, DC, give us a Red Robin solo book. I don't understand why we haven't got one. You know, we've had Vibe, we've had Batwing, we've had Resurrection Man, we've had G.I. Zombie, some of those obscure characters they've given series to, yet you have a great character like Tim Drake and he doesn't get his own book. I just think a book of his own, looking at him training Harper Row, looking at him going on different missions around the world and detective stuff, I think could be a really great series, and I think DC are really missing a trick. And I know, reading this book, I'm getting hungrier and hungrier for a Red Robin solo book. But like I say, I loved the scene in this book between Red Robin and Harper Row. That was really nice. I liked that we got the end of Bard's origin story, which was really good, and how he first met Hush, and that was all really cool. Understanding his motivation, I liked that a lot. I like the question as well that we still don't know who the big bad is, and we have a villain turn up at the end, and he kind of like, I didn't know if is he supposed to be the big bad, or is the big bad still to come? I don't know. Has he just figured it all out? Because before he left a clue for Batman, so I'm just wondering, has he just figured it out and kind of wants to show off, say, "Hoo bats, I figured it out before you." So yeah, but I'm really enjoying this book, and the art this issue, I don't know how well, because I don't have very good light, so I don't know how well you can see it, but the art this issue I really liked. I think it really stuck the mood of the book, and I thought it was really, really good. But yeah, you look at the art here, the flashbacks, the origin story. I'm really interested as well to see where Vicky Vale's going to go from here, and what's going to happen to Commissioner Bard and Jim Gordon. What's going to happen to all those characters now that we've had this scene. You know, I just love this scene here of Batman looking over his shoulder. Like I said, I really enjoyed the art this issue. I thought it went well with the and also it was the first time in the book that we've seen Batgirl in her new gear, so that was really cool as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed the art, really enjoyed the book. I think this book, like I say, is on a really good run right now, and I'm really looking forward. This book definitely felt like this was the end of the second act. The first act being the Falcone Penguin stuff, this act being Hush and Bard. And this definitely felt like we were ending that part of the story and we're moving on to something new now. But yeah, this has been a really good series thus far, and I give issue number 36 of Batman Eternal 5 stars out of 5. So our only other DC book this week is the other weekly. It is the New 52, Future's End, issue number 32. And once again, yeah, I really enjoyed this. Once again, we're kind of back to our regular format of jumping amongst all these different stories. I feel they've really got good at this now, where some of the earlier issues, it felt quite jarring moving from one to the other story. And I don't know if it's they've just got the style down and are writing it better and clicking it together better, or if it's just that we're more invested in the stories now, so we don't mind the jumping around because we're more into it. I don't know, but certainly it's definitely improved. That aspect of the book has really improved. I really liked the developing relationship between Plastique and our Batman from the future. I thought that was some really nice moments that they had in this issue. Mr. Terrific's back and he's launching his U-Spear. And is it U-Spear? I know it's U-something. U-Serve or... yo, it was U-Serve, wasn't it? I'm sure it was. All I can find in here are U's, not the actual U-Spear. Yeah, it is the U-Spear. But yeah, So I really like him, because I know from way back, Mr. Terrific, he was talking to Brother Eye that helped him develop this technology, and Brother Eye said that he'd come from space and stuff. So I'm thinking Brother Eye is Brainiac, and Brainiac's going to be the thing that loops everything together in this book. So I'm really looking, because he's already with some of the stories kind of pieced together, so I'm looking forward to everything kind of coming together with Brainiac. I think Mr. Dr. Yamazaki is kind of the rogue element to the book that I don't see any connection to Brainiac. And I'm really interested, particularly now he's got abilities, where that character's going to go is going to be really interesting. I really enjoyed the grifter stuff with him having to be, because he's presumed dead, so they won't believe who he is, and so that whole scene plays out. I really liked it, but that was a nice little bit of fun, and there were some fun moments in this issue that I liked. And Stormwatch, the return of Stormwatch was brilliant. That's always been my favourite part of the book, so to see them return. It's no surprise to see Father Time double-cross them. He's always been a bit of a shady character, but yeah, again, this was a really good issue. Art-wise as well, I really enjoyed it. I felt the art and the layout of the art was really good. Nothing overly spectacular, but I just thought, you know, it was good art. But then again, it wasn't the kind of issue where you have overly spectacular kind of things going on. So yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this issue. Thought it was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed where this book's going, and the journey that this book's taking us on is really good. I give Future's End issue number 32 5 stars out of 5. So that's my DC books. Now we'll move on to the independent books. So next up we have our independent reviews. 3 books this week, all new books in my reviews. 2 from Dark Horse Comics, 1 from Valiant Comics. First up, we're going to go with the Dark Horse comic books, and this book I think came out about a month ago. It is BPRD Hell on Earth, issue 125. I really love being able to say a number that high. Comics are relaunched so often now. I know it doesn't bother me if a book's got a high number. I know when I first got into comics as a kid in the 80s, all the comics had high numbers, it seemed, you know, because like a lot of the books had been going for like 20-30 years, so they pretty much, majority of the books had high numbers, so it was never something that ever really bothered me. But I don't know now if, because like the books get relaunched so much, if we've got a whole generation that maybe it does affect, a whole generation that are not used to books being high numbers, and that now they've kind of created an environment where there is an effect. I don't know. But I know certainly it doesn't bother me. I think I'm more bothered by too many books. I know, for example, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I was really interested in getting into that book. They're up to about the 40s now. Back when they was in the 20s, I was interested in getting into it. But the thing that put me off was that it seemed, from the outside looking in, and maybe it isn't once you know, but it seemed there were a lot of Turtle books coming out, as well as the main title. There was a lot of like special books that came out, and I wasn't sure, do they tie into that book, because that's a lot of extra books as well. So I think that more puts me off when you get a series and it's tied into too many books. That puts me off more than the numbering. But anywho, getting back into review mode, BPRD, Hell on Earth. I tried this book last year. I think what I did wrong though is like it's part of like a collection of books, but they're not linked. The stories don't link up, but they're all set in the same world. So you've got like BPRD, you've got Lobster Johnston, you've got Abe Sapien, you've got BPRD. There was BPRD Vampire when I was getting them, and there was what was the other one? Baltimore, I think the other one was. And they're kind of all connected, and I was buying them all, and there was a lot of history to try and catch up on and get my head around, and I think it was just too much. And I ended up dropping them because there was other books that I wanted, so I ended up dropping them. And it was never because of quality. It was just too much to get my head around. So I've been watching Sleepy Reader's videos, which is something I really recommend doing. And Sleepy has been trying these books lately, so I thought, I'll give them a go as well. So I picked up this one, and like I say, it's from about a month ago. And BPRD, that stands for those of you that don't know, is the Bureau of Paranormal Research and Defense. And this book is basically this thing called the Black Flame. They stopped it the first time, but the second time they didn't, and all these monsters have been unleashed on Earth, and of course a lot of destruction. So this is kind of like the aftermath, where we're living in this world with monsters, and some places have been pretty much destroyed and abandoned, and other people are trying to rebuild their lives and stuff. That's what I'm gathering this book's about. So our main story in this, the BPRD have to do this mission for the Air Force, where they have to go and check that this town is clear of monsters, so that the Air Force know what to do, whether to destroy it or to just fumigate it. So they go in, and in return they're going to get all these weapons. So, and I found that part of the story really easy to follow. It was a great introduction to some of the characters. You get the glimpses that some of the big things that may have happened in the past. So I really liked that part of the story, and I followed that really easy. The rest of the book I found difficult to connect with, mainly because I didn't have a clue what was going on. I read the book, and it may as well have been written in Russian, because I just didn't have a clue. We had characters that I didn't know who they were. I didn't understand. I gathered some of the characters were in New York, some were in Russia, and then somebody was building a garden, and I don't know where the hell that was. But yeah, so there was a lot of the story that I found confusing and found quite impenetrable, and because of that I found it difficult to connect with the characters and with the book. But I kind of recognised that it was a well-drawn book, and that the story that I did understand was good. So I'm going to persevere with this book, and hopefully it will reward me. But certainly this issue was a bit of a difficult one to get into. Hopefully in the new year I can pick up some of the trades and some back issues, and things will become clearer. But I think there's a good story there once I get my understanding to it. So I give BPRD Hell on Earth issue number 125 3 stars out of 5. So moving right along to another Dark Horse book, it is Hellboy and the BPRD 1952. These are the only two Minolaverse books I'm going to read for now. I'm just going to concentrate on getting to grips with the BPRD and their history before I kind of stretch out to anything else. This book was the total opposite to the previous book. This is a perfect jumping on spot. This is Hellboy's first mission with the BPRD. It introduces Hellboy and who he is and who the BPRD are. We get introduced to the characters and this story who are different to the modern group. This is all the original group, and we get introduced to everybody, and the story is set up really nicely. We've got members of the team. We don't know if we can trust them. We get the feel that there's history to this team as well. And yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this. I thought this was a great introduction. Like I say, easy to follow. I like the dynamic of the team and the different characters. I thought that was really well. Like I say, really great introduction to Hellboy if you've never read Hellboy before. If you've never even watched the films, this is a great introduction. And yeah, really strong start to this series, and like I say, I enjoyed it a lot. There's also kind of, when they go on their mission in Brazil, there's kind of a horror vibe to the book as well, which I really liked. So yeah, there's a bit of a mystery at the moment going on. But yeah, really great debut, and I give Hellboy and the BPRD 1952 issue number 1 5 stars out of 5. So, moving right along to our final independent book, it is The Valiant from Valiant Comics, issue number 1 of this 4-part mini-series. First things first, the book feels like it's a special book. It's got a cardboard cover, right? So, you've got that. The way they have this kind of thing on there, that's really cool. Then in the back, you've got like a thing for next issue. But then you've also got like this extra stuff showing you kind of like what the artist, how the artist made the decisions and why. and then kind of like introduction to some of the characters, as well as like, you know, as well as our story. So yeah, the book feels special. $3.99. Marvel would have charged $4.99 for this, like they did with Wolverine. So I was right from the start. It feels special. It feels like they've really made an effort, but they're not charging me extra for it. They're kind of say, look, you know, we're not like Marvel. We're gonna treat you right as a customer. So right from the bat, I got off onto a good foot with them, and I was really impressed. I then sat down to read the story. Really easy to follow. I've read the first few issues of X-O Man of War. I've read the first issue of Bloodshot and the first issue of Harbinger, but that's it for Valiant. I know back in the day when they first launched them, I really wanted to get into the Valiant books, but at the time I didn't have my order with my comic shop, and my comic shop wouldn't get many issues in. So it was kind of a job where if you didn't get there the morning the books were put on the shelf, they would be sold out. And so, and it's still the case today that they don't get many issues in. It's very difficult in my comic shop to get issues of Valiant, you know. Particularly, you know, even like usually they're really good for back issues. You can go back and they'll have 2 months worth of books on the shelf, and you can pick sometimes even 3 months. But the Valiant books, they never seem to have many spare copies on the shelves. So they still seem to be really popular for the amount they order. So if I was going to get into Valiant, I would have to put them on my order, because I don't think I'm going to get it. And I have added this one to my order because I enjoyed it. Like I say, easy to follow though. It introduces all the characters really well, sets up the story, really interesting story, that you've got this Geomancer who has this communication with Earth, and that every so often this darkness comes to kill the Geomancer, but we have this character called the Eternal Warrior who's there to protect the Geomancer from the darkness. But 3 times he's failed, and the Geomancer has died, and we've had a period of darkness. Now it's going to happen again, and he's not going to lose a 4th Geomancer. He's putting this group together to make sure he can protect the Geomancer. So yeah, really good story, really good setup. I liked all the characters. Was really interested to see where it's going to go. Really, really well presented, and really great debut. And I was really impressed with this. Really enjoyed it, and I would say, out of all the books this week, this is the one I enjoyed the most. So I'd make the Valiant issue number 1 my pick of the week. So those are the independent books. So right on now, we're going to go to those reviews of the Marvel books. Well, we're on to what will be probably the longest part of the video as I review the Marvel books I picked up this week. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 books to review. So without further ado, let's move on. We have Axis issue number 7, and I'm really disappointed with this series. I had such high hopes when it began, and I was really looking forward to it, but it's not realised the potential that it had. And I'm more disappointed because Rick Remender is one of my favourite writers. I really enjoyed, so far until this, everything he's written that I've read, I've really enjoyed. And this has just been such a disappointment because somebody I hold in such high regard has delivered such a stinker. On this positive side, this issue is full of action, as our so-called good guys are taking on the mutants. The mutants have this bomb they're going to launch that's going to wipe out everybody who isn't a mutant. So Steve Rogers has sent his team in to try and stop them, and they've got a plan to stop them, and they're trying to realise that plan so that they can avoid that. At the same time, Scarlet Witch is still trying to kill Doctor Doom. So yeah, we've pretty much got the 2 stories running, and then we'll also catch up with our evil Avengers as well. So yeah, you've got a lot going on. There's a lot of characters, which I think is one of the problems. I think there's too many characters. You need to nail it back and make it a bit more intimate, because the emotional scenes are just falling by the wayside. The best scene of the whole issue is the scene between Deadpool and Apocalypse, with Deadpool trying to reach the child inside, trying to like connect with him, because and if you've read Uncanny X-Force, you completely get why Deadpool's doing this. If you haven't read Uncanny X-Force, then yeah, that's a bit of a lost scene. But one of the things I have enjoyed is seeing Rick Remender once again write Deadpool, because I think he writes the character really well, and brings a different side of Deadpool out. So I've really enjoyed. That's been something I have enjoyed of this series. But for a lot of the scenes, any kind of emotion we just gloss over. There's a scene at the beginning with Havoc and Cyclops where there could be a potential emotion, but again, straight away before we can even get to that emotion, we're pulled out of that scene. There's a scene later on between some characters where a pretty big revelation comes out, but it's just glossed over because they just got to carry on fighting. And that's part of the problem. We're not connecting with the story because it's not given time to breathe. We've got so many characters and so much to do in the issue that the story's not getting time to breathe and time to make these emotional scenes have their impact. And so much is going on as well that it's all getting lost. So yeah, I've been disappointed with this, and I'm hoping it's going to pick up, but I don't think it is. I think this is going to be another stinker of an event from Marvel, and give Axis issue number 7 2 stars out of 5. Next up we have Avengers World issue number 16, and this is an Axis tie-in, but don't let that put you off, because this was a really good issue. It's part 2 of a 2-part story. Doctor Doom has got Valeria to put together a new team of Avengers to do this mission for him, to help him with take out Scarlet Witch. So this issue we get to see them on the mission. I really like the dynamic of the team. It reminded me why I loved the Avengers and why they've always been my favourite team. Because you've got the Justice League and their super friends. You've got the Fantastic Four and their family. You've got the X-Men who have got the bond of they're persecuted, that they're all mutants, and they deal with the persecution that gives them a bond. With the Avengers, there wasn't no such bond. They would just come together because they were going to fight things that were too big to fight individually. And I think Joss Whedon captured the mood perfectly in the movie, and why it was such a big success. He got it spot on with the way the team would bicker and fight and wouldn't necessarily see things the same way. And that's the thing that I like here. The dynamic with the team is just brilliant. They don't all get on, but by the end of the issue, they respect each other. And that's really good. And they all step up to the moment and become bigger heroes. And that's what the Avengers are about. The art here by Marco Checchetto is fantastic. I really love the art here. And one of the reasons I may actually keep getting the book is the art. I don't know how well we're going to be able to see it. But yeah, you know, you look at that scene there, brilliant. But yeah, the art in this issue, like I say, great stuff. There's a really nice twist at the end when we get to see what Doom is up to, that I really liked, and it sets up Nick Spencer's new book next year. So that was a nice little touch and made me definitely more intrigued to see that series, which that's a positive. Yeah, I would really have loved to have seen much more of this team. Unfortunately, they're going to be broken up now. But yeah, I really enjoyed the book, and coming into it, I wasn't really that eager to see any more of this team, but coming out of it, they've done a fantastic job with this issue in really making me want more. And I'd give Avengers World issue number 16 5 stars out of 5. Well worth a go there. We then have Thor issue number 3, which is just another fantastic issue. Russell Daudermeyer on the art is doing a great job. The story, Jason Aaron just remains of top form. I'm loving the mystery of who Goddess of Thunder is. And this issue, she was badass as she has to fight an army of frost giants without Mjolnir. So that is awesome. Also, I really love the showdown between the clash of the villains, if you will, between Malkiev and Dario Agga. That was really cool, seeing them two go to war against each other. That was brilliant. And the cliffhanger just had me geeking out all over the place. Really good book. Top form. Jason Aaron just seems to know, even if it's not the Thor isn't the Odin's son, if they've got a different Thor, he still knows how to write a great book with this character. And I give issue number 3 of 4 5 stars out of 5. Next up we have Avengers issue number 39, and this was a really good issue. What Hickman does really well is the stakes feel really high in this issue. It feels like, yeah, this is serious. You know, people are preparing to die here. That kind of level of seriousness, and there's a real gravitas to the book and a real emotion about the events that are happening, and that is just something I think so often people, as readers and as reviewers, we get hooked up on that. Jonathan Hickman, sorry, is a writer who has the long game, and his stories at times can be impenetrable, but if you stick with them, you get rewarded. We become too kind of fixated on that with Hickman. But one thing we often overlook is the gravitas that he gives to books and the emotions and how he makes you care about these characters, which is something we often overlook with his books and get too caught up on that. His stories can be impenetrable. I love the art here by Mike Diagatto. Again, he does a really great job. My favourite page is with the War Machine drones. I just really love this page. But yeah, the whole story of this issue is basically Steve Rogers' S.H.I.E.L.D. Avengers have caught up with the Illuminati. The Illuminati are ready for them. They know they're coming. It's a trap. And the whole issue, the structure is kind of Reed Richards recording this message to Valeria, because he pretty much thinks he's going to die. And so he's recording this message so that if he's not there, that it could be like a series of tapes that can help guide her. Where he would have. So that's a really nice, gives the book a really nice structure. The last page cliffhanger was excellent. The kind of twist in the tale, I really liked that. And yeah, it was brilliant and brings it all full circle, which was really good. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying this. Everything's really coming together. With things seemingly reaching ahead now, I kind of wonder, because it says like 5 months time runs out, so I was imagining this story was going to run for 5 months, but it doesn't feel that way. So it's going to be interesting if this is going to end early. Where are we going to go then? Because I'm pretty much sure time runs out, that's going to lead to the whole Secret Wars thing. That's my kind of guess, but I could be wrong. But yeah, this was a really good issue, and this book I feel has really picked up lately. And I give Avengers issue number 39 5 stars out of 5. We then have Guardians of the Galaxy Annual, issue number 1. This is kind of a real... It's the kind of story that I expect from an annual, but that I really enjoyed. It's a one and done story. We have the whole Guardians team together. That includes Captain Marvel and Venom, who aren't always with the team in the comic. But yeah, the whole team together. And they're just, you know, as you do, flying up through space. And they come across the original Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. And they're in space to track down and kill Skrulls. And they're kind of like... They're talking about the Skull-Kree War. And it's kind of like, well, that happened a long time ago. You know, what's happening here? Is it time travel? Is it doppelgangers? What's happening? And there's the whole thing where Fury thinks the Guardians are Skrulls. Which leads to some really good moments. The art in this book by Frank Chow is really good. There's a lot of really standout pages all the way through this book. There's just some really great images that he draws and captures that really make it worth purchasing this book. All the way through it though, it just looks really clean, and yeah, I can't help thinking the guy here, he looks so much like Sulu out of Star Trek. I definitely had like a Star Trek moment. We also get some Skrulls turn up, and that's when things all break loose. I really like the reveal at the end. We get to see our Guardians go off into action, which I really love that page. But like I say, the book is just filled with great images, really fun story. The kind of story I feel you'd get in an annual. Captain Marvel and Venom fit into the team really well, and they're really essential to the story as well. I like the ending. It made sense, particularly with the things we've learned this year. But yeah, this was a really fun book, and it Guardians of the Galaxy Annual number 1, 5 stars out of 5. We then jump on to Rocket Raccoon issue number 6. This is a one and done story as well, so if you're kind of curious about picking this book up, this is a nice place to come in, because it's a one and done story. Rocket has to pay back all the princesses he conned, so he's having to do special jobs. So he help out these robots who they were built as war machines, but then they become obsolete. So they were just dumped in space, and they've landed on this planet where they've set up this really idyllic life, and four of their group have been kidnapped and are going to be reprogrammed to be war machines again, and they've kind of come to Rocket to kind of help them get their compadres back. And Rocket's the robot that's been sent to help Rocket only speaks in binary, which is really funny. Instead of I am Groot, we have loads of ones and zeros. But yeah, it's a really fun story. I really like the idea of these robots built as war machines, then living a peaceful life. I really like that idea. I thought that's a really cool idea. The book, it has a very fun kind of tone, and it makes me, the art, you look at it, and it's a very fun kind of tone, and it is a fun story, and it feels like the Rocket that we had in the movie, the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And it is a lot of fun. It's rated teen on the cover, but the feel of the book, it definitely feels like an all ages book. But you do have swearing in it, and while the swear words aren't there, you know how they have like all the stars and that to kind of signal that the character is swearing. So they have that. I don't know if that would put some people off sharing it with their kids. Also, you can kind of look at it, it is quite violent. But then I pretty much think most comics these days are violent. But it's all kind of comic booky kind of stuff, because it's not like really brutal violent stuff. So yeah, I'm kind of conflicted whether you could class it, because I know it's got teen on the cover, but there's a lot of books that are classed as teen that don't really feel as teen books. So I don't know, but it is a really good book. If you like the movie, the Guardians movie, the Rocket in this very much feels in tone with that character, so it's definitely a nice place to start. And I'd give Rocket Raccoon issue number 6 5 stars out of 5. Next up we have Uncanny X-Men Annual issue number 1. This is just fantastic. If not for the Valiant, this would have been my pick of the week, because I really enjoyed this. What they done here, fantastic writing. They took a character that I liked, but I didn't really care that much about. But they really, by the end of this book, I'm like super invested in her story and in her character. And I really felt emotions, and it mattered to me what happens to her. And to go from that in just like one book, to go from somebody who just, yeah, this character's okay, to, whoa, I'm invested in this character now. It's just a fantastic job of writing in my book. Though my book's not very thick. The art in this is first class. It's Andrea Sorrentino. Sorrentino is an artist until this year. I hadn't really seen any of their work. I know they've done other books, but it wasn't until they come on Green Arrow, and I don't know if that was this year or last year. Yeah, it was beginning of this year. It was like February, wasn't it? But yeah, they came onto Green Arrow, and they did, or was it last year? But until they came on Green Arrow, I hadn't really heard of this artist. But now, I'm one of their biggest fans. Just fantastic art. And of course, we have Miolo on colours as well. And Miolo and Sorrentino just makes us an awesome team. I love the time travelling story and seeing what happens to Eva. Full of emotion. There's a bit of a thing at the end. What was the warning that she was going to give her before she died? That's really interesting. But like I say, the book is worth buying for the art alone. It is just spectacular. What they do here. I read the book, and then I just sat there flicking through it because the art is just so freaking amazing. I also love how it's coloured for the different places that she travels to. All have a different look and a different feel. So I really liked that. They just have a great way. Sorrentino has a great way of just kind of really fleshing, of really setting out a book, and then Miolo's colours just really add so much. But yeah, this is one of those books, even though it's an annual, it's just worth getting because this art is, like I say, so amazing. So yeah, it's well worth getting just for the art. Even if you don't know who this character is or what's happening, it's just well worth getting because it's just a fantastic job of art, but the writing also is so spot on. And I definitely give Uncanny X-Men Annual issue number 1 5 stars out of 5, and I'm really looking forward to part 2 in 2 weeks. We then jump on from something really good. We jump to the Punisher issue number 13, which 13 was really unlucky because this was a real dog turd of a book. I really did not enjoy this. I think there was 2 problems. Problem number 1 was that I don't really like the Howling Commandos that much, so I wasn't really that interested in learning more about them. Problem number 2 is they left last issue on a fantastic cliffhanger, and I really want to see what happens next. Punisher just played a fantastic game, a fantastic kind of way to deal with 2 enemies. I loved it, and I was really interested to see, well, what's going to happen next? And then we go off into this side story, and I was just like, this is crud. Waste of an issue, disappointing. Really, it didn't interest me. It was supposed to, I think, make me care or sympathise with the Commandos more. It didn't. It's one to avoid. Unless you're a completist, I'd avoid this because it doesn't really add anything to our main story, so you could avoid it. The only saving grace was I did like the art. The art here was good. It kind of reminded me, particularly the way the females was drawn, it had a manga kind of style to it. But yeah, other than that, if it wasn't for the art, I would have given this book a 1 because I just really did not enjoy it. But I'm going to give it a 2 because I think the art was a positive thing to the book. So I'd give the Punisher issue number 13 2 stars out of 5. We then have Amazing Spider-Man issue number 11, which features part 3 of the Spider-Verse. What I've really liked about this book is the fact that you can just reread in this book and you'll get the story. You'll get the Spider-Verse story. You just read an Amazing Spider-Man. But if you're enjoying it and you read all these other books, it does add a lot to the main story, but they're not essential to understanding the main story. So I've really liked that. I think they've done a great job there. The other thing I think they've really done well, it feels like a big event because the events feel important. It feels like, yeah, these spiders are in the battle for their life and the stakes are high. So, you know, I think they've really done a great job there with setting the stage. I think Olivier Capel as well, his art on this series has really made it feel like a big event, and this is what an event should be. And I think a lot of people at Marvel could take lessons from Dan Slott in how to do a big event, because this is the spot on. Love the battle between our Superior and Amazing Spider-Man. That was really cool. Yeah, there are bits that spin off into other books, but this issue I felt the balance was better. It was overdone last issue. This issue I felt it was only done a couple of times, so it wasn't such a big problem. But yeah, I'm just really enjoying this book, and I give Amazing Spider-Man issue number 11 5 stars out of 5. So moving on, we have Spider-Verse Team Up issue number 2. The first story, we have the Spider-Man from the 60s cartoon show, with Ultimate Spider-Man and the Spider-Man from the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. So the 3 of them kind of, basically the 2 Ultimate Spider-Mans go to recruit the 60s Spider-Man, and it's like drawn exactly in that way, and the whole world is in that way. So that's really cool. I really like that story. It was a lot of fun, and that was really cool. The second story features Spider-Gwen with the Spider-Goblin, I think, for lack of a better name. I really like this story that this Spider-Man, after Gwen died, he killed the Green Goblin and became the Hobgoblin, because he couldn't save Gwen. And so that's really cool. That was a different kind of spin on it. So I really like that. And you know, there's this moment where they're kind of, in her world she couldn't save Peter Parker, and in his world he couldn't save Gwen Stacy. So they both kind of wanna save each other, which is really nice. But the only thing with the second story is it felt like we joined it halfway through, and it felt like we could have had the whole book just be that one story. It did feel like we had missed half the story, which was a shame. Both stories were fun and I enjoyed them, and it was a good book. It's not an essential book. You don't need to buy this. to follow bits of the story. It's just fun. If you're really enjoying Spider-Verse, buy it, you'll enjoy it. But if you're not so invested, skip it, it won't hurt your reading enjoyment at all. But I give Spider-Verse Team Up issue number 2 4 stars out of 5. And finally this week we have the Amazing Spider-Man Annual issue number 1. For those of you that want your non-Spider-Verse Spider-Man, this is the book to buy. The first story I really enjoyed, had a real kind of Matt Fraction Hawkeye quality, which is funny because we get a cameo from Hawkeye in here. But he definitely had that kind of vibe of, you know, like going about your basic life and then you have these random events and all crazy stuff happens. I did really like the art in that first story. It's written by Sean Ryan with art by Brandon Peterson. I really like Brandon Peterson's art, and I really like the layouts as he done as well. I think the book just really looks like a good book, and really has some interesting layouts, and yeah, it's a really good story. I really enjoyed that first story. We then have a kind of a short, like, Gail Atkinson writes and illustrates this like 2-page Aunt May story, which was alright. It was quite fun. And then the final story I didn't really get. There was like a whole punchline. I really like the art of this story though. I'm not sure who does this art, but I thought the art on that story, on this, the last story, let's find out who done the art. I thought that was really good. The Quiet Room, Ron Salas does the art. I thought that was really good, but the actual story itself I didn't really enjoy. This was a book that I would say was alright. The first story was my favourite. As an annual, I wouldn't really recommend paying $4.99 for it. I'd kind of skip it because I think nothing in here is so good or so much fun that you need to read it. If you love Spider-Man, yeah, get it, you'll enjoy it. But it's not a must read, and I'd avoid if you're short of cash. But I enjoyed it, and I thought that, yeah, there was some good, there was some bad. But I'd give Spider-Man Annual 3 stars out of 5. So that's me done for this week. I will be back on Thursday with a haul video. Not up Wednesday because I'm working Wednesday evening. I'm doing half a shift, so so I won't have time to do a video. But I will have. I'm off on the Thursday, so I will be able to do the video on Thursday. So expect to see it up some point on Thursday. My next week's review video will be most probably be late. I'm working the weekend on Monday, and they're like all 10.5-hour shifts. So there's no way I'm going to be able to do a review video. Unless by some miracle I've read all my books by Friday, which I doubt. Because a big haul this week. I think I got 21 books picking up this week. This week and next week are really big hauls. So, yeah, I very much doubt I'll have read them all by Friday. So, yeah, expect it probably next week some point, my review video. It will definitely be up before Christmas. That is all I can promise. But yeah, thank you very much for watching my video. If you liked it, please let me know. Take the time, please just give me the thumbs up. Let me know you like what you're doing. I hope you all, in case my video is up late and I don't get to say it, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and I hope you all have a great time. I will be back, like I said, on Thursday. I've been Jason. This has been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.